welcome back to the P5SL Proverbs podcast with Coach Norman, Coach A, and our special guest today. We're here to break down the journey from youth sports to the pros. Whether you're a young athlete, a parent, or just an overall sports fan, this is the spot for you. I'm your host, MC Mike, and I'm joined as always, actually today, alongside an all-star coaching staff of Permian Basin legends, Coach Norman, Coach A, and Coach Rob. Today we'll be chatting about perspective. Preparation is the key. However, the outcome isn't always in your hands. You must stay humble, trust the process, and understand that success also involves grace and teamwork. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Doing great.
Yes,
absolutely.
Blessed as always.
Right.
Amazing.
Wind has calmed down and we here recording, right?
The wind was a big factor in last episode. So I'm glad that the dust has settled, pun intended. So I'm really excited about today's show, man. I mean, obviously we're going to get a different perspective. Coach Rob, your track record speaks for what it is. And I'm really curious about, picking your brain a little bit on some of these topics that we're going to be discussing, talking about our athlete spotlight of the week. And obviously you're going to grace us with your athlete's tip of the week at the end of the show as well. But as always, we want to start off today's show with our prayer and our proverb. Coach A, you've been on a pretty decent run with that. We're going to turn the mic over to you for our prayer today and our proverb.
All right, here we go. Heavenly Father, thank you for the day that was not promised. Again, Father, I ask that you allow us to step back in the Holy Spirit to enter us and step forward, Father. Father, all that we do, Father, is to honor you. Father, I pray that the time that we spend, Father, that we're able to speak life to those that are out there listening, give insight on things that they have questions about, Father God, and understand that all of this draw them back and near to you. Father, I pray for this time in your Son's Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. So we're going to chat about today's proverb. Coach A, you want to take the reins on this?
We'll do that. Proverbs 21:31, and it reads, "The horse is made ready for the day of battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord." I think Coach Norman has a great explanation for this Proverbs. If he can go ahead and chime in. And
absolutely, man. My perspective on this verse and the context behind it is, we prepare all the time. We talk about proper preparation prevents poor performance.
Right.
We're preparing for games. We're preparing for tournaments, whatever the event may be. We're preparing for those things and getting ready, the practices and all of that. But in that preparation, when we get into the event, we get on the field of battle or whatnot, we don't always win. Everyone is, and when I say win, I'm saying win on the scoreboard.
Right. So,
everybody is preparing and trying to get that ultimate victory. But we have to realize that the ultimate victory belongs to the Lord. And so when we do lose on the scoreboard, we just have to understand that, maybe it wasn't our time. That team was better than us that day, whatever the case may be. And don't beat ourselves up about it. The mistakes that we made and all of that, learn from those mistakes, but then, just continue going on, because like the verse says, it's made ready for the day of battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord.
I would like to jump in on that as well. John, when we're going through things on the field or whatnot, you can, although you don't win on the scoreboard, you can play in a manner that is pleasing to God.
Absolutely.
And in that manner, that allows God to receive the victory. He is sovereign. Nothing that we do is not without him, and everything that we do is all of him.
Yeah.
So just understand that throughout your battles, you can be ready as possible, but the victory is always going to go to the Lord.
Absolutely. And it's one thing Coach Rob talks about all the time is playing with class. If you want to speak on that, Coach, you talk about it all the time, win with class, lose with class.
Right.
Well, we had a situation out there this past weekend. The 9U Odessa team was playing the 9U Midland team in the semifinal to go to the championship at the West Texas All-Star Classic. The 9U Odessa team didn't play their best game. They ended up losing, and were quite disappointed because they expected to win the whole thing. The coaches were kind of upset. I got there, parked right next to them in a golf cart just to just to be right there, see what they were. All the parents were there. The kids were taking a knee. The coaches were talking. And, the coaches they were still in the moment, preparing these kids for months. And, it ends like that, kind of disappointed. And you could tell they were disappointed in what they were saying after the game. Keeping on, harping on, we did this to us. And, all of that was done. But what I went up there and I told the kids, because I needed to, somebody needed to, I told them, I said, look, we're going to deal with this in this moment. We're going to deal with it. We're going to deal with it. We're getting closer every time we play these guys. And it was a blowout 2 years ago. This year it was real competitive. We're getting real close. We're going to catch these guys because y'all are going to keep working and y'all are going to use this as fuel for the next year. And also, we're not going to accept the result, but we're going to deal with it with class. We're going to give them their due. And when we come back, we're going to be ready because this is going to, fuel us. This feeling right now, what y'all are feeling right now is what y'all don't want to feel next year. And the only way to get over that is to use it to fuel you, to work harder so we can catch them and ultimately beat them.
Right.
So sometimes stuff like that has to be told to these youngsters. I had a whole bunch of them, and I never even knew any of these kids. They all came up to me. Their parents came up to me, told me, hey, thank you, coach. And maybe later on down the line, I'll get to coach some of these guys. But
yeah.
It was at that moment that I said, you know what? As coaches, we want to win so bad. And in the heat of the battle, you have to be able to take yourself away from that and understand these are kids. And yes, it was disappointing. We didn't execute the way we can and we know we can. But we got to let that go and give them words of encouragement that'll vault them in the future.
Right.
And that's what they needed at that particular moment because the kids, man, they were devastated. They've been working months for this, and they didn't reach their goal. And anytime a kid doesn't reach their goal, we as adults have to be the ones to encourage them so they can ultimately reach their goal.
Right.
This ain't the end all be all,
Right.
We talk about practice and preparation and the importance of that. And, game day is nothing more than a dress rehearsal for all that hard work and effort that's put in, right? But, you brought up something that I think holds more weight than all this. And, the improvement that they've had because of that practice and preparation.
Right.
You can get up to the plate for the first time, never hit a baseball in your life and hit a grand slam. It's luck, right? Maybe there's some skill involved, but the players that work, that have that preparation and that practice and that experience in knowing what it's like to not succeed and then working towards that success, that goal, that holds a lot more weight than being successful out of the gate. And I think that's the lesson that, especially in youth sports, kids need to really understand, because that can translate in life. Things are not going to be handed to you. You got to work for it. And the more you work, the more you're probably going to fail. But you have to pick yourself up and really just understand where those faulties are, and then really just move forward and figure out the best path in order to get to where you want to be.
The greatest coach, in my opinion, in all of sports, John R. Wooden. Failure to prepare is preparing to fail. And I've told that to my kids, every clutch of kids that I've ever coached, we use that, and I tell their parents that when I first get introduced to those people, we're not going to be that team that fails to prepare. We're not going to, because we're setting ourselves up for failure, and we're going to get what we deserve. That's the thing about sports in general. You're going to get what you deserve. If you work hard, you'll be right there to compete for it all. Now, nothing is promised, but competing for it all, if you work hard, you can make that happen. Now, winning is, there's a lot of different variables in winning the contest, but you can put yourself in position just by squarely preparing. That's it.
Definitely. Well, I'm going to, I really want to talk more about this tournament for sure. But first, we want to take a second and talk about today's sponsor. And we're going to thank JMR Services. To learn more, go to jmrservices.com. safely and effectively managing wells today for a safer and cleaner tomorrow. They are the title sponsor for the pickleball tournament put on by the Power 5 Sports League. We thank them for that, and we are very excited to have them as a partner for the program.
Absolutely.
John, anything you want to say about them?
Oh no, I was just gonna say they just like they say on their website, you know, they're the trusted experts in well plugging and abandonment. So for all your well plugging needs or whatnot, call J&R Services, man. They'll be out there. They believe in customer service, so it's all good.
Well, that was a tongue twister, huh?
Yeah, it was a tongue twister, but I got through it.
Hey, abandonment. I'm glad we chose you to say that instead of me. Abandonment.
Abandonment.
All right. Well, our first segment is usually about, just a quick recap. What's new? What do we do throughout the week? Just a little bit of a catch up. But I really want to sort of shift gears here and talk with Coach Rob about the 9th annual West Texas All-Star Classic football tournament that took place this past week in Midland. Coach, talk to us a little bit about the history of this tournament, what it means to you as a coach to put something like this together, and sort of the evolution since you launched this about 9 years ago.
Well, the evolution is we started it with, me coaching. I was coaching Ivan Carrion's class, and now he's in his second year at OU. So, and he was able to come back to the Classic, a big 6'7", 6'6" kid out there,
awesome.
Walking around and talking to the youngsters about, he was in their position. Mm-hmm. And now showing them somebody that they can get to, it's right there in front of them. He's a real person. They both went and played D1 college football, but those youngsters can't relate to them because they're not their age.
We too old now.
I know these guys because of I knew them.
Right.
But the youngsters see a kid like Ivan and said, "Man, you were just here.
Right.
We just saw you."
Good point.
And now we have guys like that coming back. Now the whole premise of the Classic was to get West Texas. We used to have spring football, a tackle spring football league here. Of course, with the concussion era that we're going through and everything, parents wanted to, take a break from tackle and everything. And I understand that, and I got that. And we used to have a season of about a month and a half long tackle football spring season. As every high school, every college goes through spring football of some shape or form, whether they're playing a spring game at the end or they're just getting the extra practices in the spring. Everybody still has spring football here in Texas, and in most Division Ones, and everybody in Division One really. But anyways, this was thought up because I wanted the kids to have a real abbreviated weekend of tackle football still, a spring football still. But I wanted West Texas to come together at one venue, one weekend a year, and crown a West Texas All-Star champion in each age group, from 5U all the way up to 13U. That was the vision. With me being a coach that coaches around the state and the country, I was able to network and find the people in Amarillo, Lubbock, El Paso, Abilene, Albuquerque, you name it, Midland, Odessa, Roswell. I was able to resource me being a coach and be able to develop relationships where they can form their own regions and come down to Midland, Odessa. That was the dream at first. We started with only 3 regions, and now we're at 8. No, it's 8. It's 8 regions. 8 regions.
Abilene, Roswell, Albuquerque, El Paso.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now we're at 8 regions, and I think next year we'll have maybe 9 with San Angelo. We're only missing San Angelo. So San Angelo, you're watching, we want you in it. But it's a great deal where I know Coach A and Coach John would have loved to do this when they were growing up, being something like this. And everybody seems to just go crazy this time of year about the Classic. We're all West Texas people. all of us.
Right.
Even the guys in New Mexico, they're West Texas too.
Yeah.
We're all the same kind of people, you know. We all want to beat the mess out of each other though that weekend. You know, we're West Texas brethren, but we also want to get after each other, and we do. And it's a tremendous event.
Right.
The competition's fierce. You know, the venues are the top notch in the country. There's no other venue like what they're developing there in Midland. There's no other venue like that in Texas. And I want to say in the country with the advent of the two new fields that are fixing to be put in place, you're going to have 7 football fields, real football fields,
right?
Not soccer, lacrosse. You know, these are for football. And you're going to have 7 of them at one venue. We currently have 5. We had so many teams this year. We had no other teams could have joined. We had no field space available.
Right.
So that just tells you how big the Classic has grown from the 3 regions now to the 8 that we have. And we've done it because we, you know, like we talked about earlier, we treat people fairly.
Right.
You know, and you do that, it'll grow. And we have something special with that.
And one thing about it also, one thing about it also, 2 years ago, we introduced the cheer aspect to it as well. So, you know, for 2 years now, the cheer has been going and man, it's been taking off, and them girls coming down and competing for that trophy. They're very competitive as well. So, you know, it expands over all the ages and all the genders. You know,
the thing I want to touch on is it's not a tournament. I keep harping on this to everybody. It's an event. The pageantry of the event. Every year we have a theme, and this year's theme was the NBA.
Yep.
So Amarillo was the Hornets, like Charlotte Hornets. Odessa was the Odessa Spurs. Midland was the Midland Bulls. El Paso was the Lakers. I mean, everybody from 5U to 13U is wearing the same uniform.
Yeah.
The pageantry of the event is just, it can't be beat. You know, we've done that for a reason. We've asked everybody to turn in the rosters early so we can get these nice uniforms made and sent on time. You can't imagine how many kids at the last minute want to be in the Classic that we turn away because you have to have a uniform.
Right.
It's an event. It's the pageantry of the event is special, you know, with everybody walking around and they're representing their colors and stuff like that. It's just, we want it top notch, and we're, you know, stuff like that. We'd love the kids to play in it, but you have to have a uniform.
Mike, I like to throw my 2 cents in. Being on the outside watching this happen, especially with the job that I had, being in the school system and noticing the kids coming up with these different types of jerseys. And to be honest, there has to be like just tell you the truth about what I thought about it. Thought it was just something that somebody was doing that was just trying to just get money.
Right. A money grab.
A money grab. But after I figured out what was going on, seeing the jerseys and the themes, and I know one year that really touched my heart is when you guys had the theme of the
high school.
It was historical segregated high schools that don't exist anymore.
Right. And you go out there and you see all of these schools represented. It was a wonderful feeling. And then I got a chance to really meet Rob and understand what he's doing, not trying to do, what he is doing. Mm-hmm. And if the community would continue to get behind this thing, man, it could possibly go nationwide.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, from what I'm hearing about it, and I was actually shocked to hear that there was this much organized effort at a time when football is not in play, right? Like there's these teams that are sort of intact, able to practice, able to gather up and then get hyped up for what, Rob, you're calling this event. But I'm going to actually take it a step further. I mean, this is your 9th year doing it, which means next year is a kind of a ceremonial year as a decade of doing this. This is turning more into a classic, an annual classic where West Texas can get together, put competition on the field, figure out what's important, but off the field, understand the value of what this event classic means to West Texas. And again, it's a tribute to everything that you've built, your vision. And we talked about this before the show. Just doing things right is going to attract the right people to be associated with it. And if that is a trend that it's a simple concept, but if that's a trend that can be picked up, not just in West Texas, but by youth sports around the world. I mean, we're talking about an evolution that, you brought up the term powder keg, that is just going to explode in youth sports around the globe, not just in football, but in all sports. And all this does, the residual effect of it is only beneficial for the kids. And I think that at the end of the day, that's what we're all hopeful for and looking forward towards as well.
Well, for me, for real, in youth sports, my parents will come to me and say, hey, I got invited to this All-American game. I got invited to that. And we're talking about money grabs. I'm thoroughly against stuff like that. If it costs $300-400 to go to one weekend type deal, I'm against stuff like that. That doesn't do anything for the kids. You go out there, you practice 2 or 3 days, and then you get a uniform and play a game that doesn't mean anything. And you're really setting somebody up to make a good payday. In our deal, it's not about that. We don't charge very much to do this. We don't. And I'll tell you one thing. What the kids get out of it is way more.
Right.
It's about the experience. It's about the overall experience of this event that they'll remember to the end of their days. Mm-hmm. And I'm not lying to you. We had kids crying on the 13U level after the championship game, and that really touched my heart. Yeah. That touched my heart big time, because when they cry, it means something. Right. And it's going to stay with them. That right there is worth more than anything you can get out of it. Being up there watching stuff like that.
That's the end of their career.
Right? That's it. Yeah. And we were talking earlier about the 13U game, about when to have it, because emotions are so high in that game. The 13U championship game, both of the teams want to win, and they don't want to lose their last youth football game ever. And so we've had some problems there with emotions getting out of hand in that game. Yeah. And I was talking with John and said, man, maybe I should move that game up to like 5:00 instead of the last game of the night. But you know what? I'm not going to. That's a tradition we've had in the Classic to play that game, because it's those kids' last youth football game. We're going to keep it the last game, and hopefully.
And then to play under the lights.
Oh, man, it's special.
You're already calling it a classic. I love it.
Talk about it.
Hey, Mike, I got one thing that I have to add. As a former AD middle school coach, what I figured out, if I can see or know who played in this Classic, that gave that kid an upper hand on what team they were going to be on. They let me know that they played some good football, and it made my job a lot easier. So parents, if you can get your kids involved in this, it is exposure, and it would help them, because I'm telling you, might not hear, the coaches may not say it, but they're paying attention to who plays in these games and what league they're playing on and what team they're playing for. It only helps them out. I'm just being honest. I was there for 3 years. I'm telling you what we did.
We talk a lot about sort of like the Power 5 Sports League being sort of I don't want to call it a developmental league, but an opportunity for kids to showcase their athletic ability for when they take that next level. And, getting some of the middle schools, getting some of the high schools involved on that front, not only in the participation, but we can call it scouting, we can call it sponsorship, we can call it all sorts of things. I mean, this only encourages kids to participate more, be their best, train better, prepare better, right? We talk about preparation because they know that the next level, the next step that they're going to take, and we'll talk about that with our athlete spotlight of the week this week, because, she is 17 years old, went through youth sports in the Power 5 Sports League, and has really taken that next leap into high school athletics. But it is important for everybody in the community, high schools, middle schools included, to understand what is being built here and what values you're instilling in these athletes at such a young age, to understand how important preparation is.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to springboard us into our trivia segment. And Coach Rob, this one's going to be for you. So,
hey, let me hold on. Let me preface this segment by saying, no. This is real. Like Rob, he thinks he is the historian. So I hope this question has been as hard as it's been for me and Antoine in the past episodes, because he's supposed to be the guru. He know it all.
No, I'm a historian of West Texas high school football.
Of West Texas high school football. Okay.
All right. Well, this is going to be the theme of today's show. More towards Odessa, because Rob, that's where you hail from. Okay. And as long as your answer isn't figure skating, we're good. Or
wrestling, huh? Arm wrestling.
The city of Odessa is famous for a multitude of different things. But what rodeo event started there in 1932?
The Sand Hills Rodeo.
No, but what event? What specific event in the rodeo? This took me by surprise. I had no clue. I didn't even know this existed, but
be mutton busting?
Nope. It's, unless this is a different name for it, but what I found, it was called jackrabbit roping.
Oh,
Odessa is actually known for jackrabbits, and they actually have events where you go around and you rope them like you would in a traditional rodeo. So I had no idea that it even existed, let alone the fact that it started in Odessa.
Well, I've never seen it, and I've worked a couple of the rodeos when I was younger. I've never seen that, but
maybe it was a one and done thing in 1932. I don't know.
Maybe so.
I would have said cow patty tossing.
Cow patty tossing? That's a thing?
Well, I've never heard that.
What, you know? No. They toss the cow patties, the little.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The nuggets,
like frisbees. Like it's frisbee.
Yeah, it looked like frisbees out there.
But I know mutton busting is a big deal out there.
What is that?
It's what the kids they ride the sheep.
They ride the sheep.
The little kids ride those sheep.
See, I would have said goat rope.
Goat roping? Well, you would have been half right.
Yeah, I've been half right, because that's what
it was roping.
The first time I heard that was at Texas Tech. We had a guy by the name of Reagan Bounds. That played on our team. He was a linebacker. He was a goat roping champion. I was
goat
like,
roping
what?
champion. All right.
Cow tipping.
That's fine.
All right, so I'm going to move us into our athlete spotlight of the week. And Coach, basically what we do here is that we take an athlete from the local area, Power 5 Sports League athlete, and we just sort of discuss, we ask them some Q&As, we discuss some of the highlights that they've had in their career, and we just analyze some of the questions and answers that they've given us based around some of their development, not only on the field, but off the field as well. And today we're actually showcasing Jaelynn Norman, young girl out of Midland, Texas. She's a former GNS summer track star. She is now, I guess, a rebel at age 17, multi-sport athlete, superstar athlete, honing skills in track, basketball, flag football. Am I missing anything? Volleyball. What else, John? I mean, she's done it all, apparently.
Yeah, she do it all, man.
Even arm wrestling.
Arm wrestling. Well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show us three highlights. One from basketball, one from flag football, and then one from track. And then we'll just talk a little bit about what we're seeing in her skill set as she's, sort of developing as an athlete at the youth level. So first, we're going to start with our basketball. And this, it's a little hard to see, but, definitely making the most out of the window. Backboard's best friend, right? But wheels. I mean, she has tremendous speed.
Oh, she just went left-handed. Yeah.
I mean, you can see the speed on display here.
Absolutely.
And we'll see that in the track segment coming up here. Where she just, I think this is the 200 meter. But she gets off to a ginormous lead and just finishes, does not look back.
Come around that mountain.
Over at Rattler Stadium.
So, Coach Norman, when she was associated with GNS, I mean, what is your takeaway from looking at this type of video? I mean, look at this spacing she has and just doesn't let up, man. Finishes all the way through.
Yeah, man. It just reminds me of that perseverance and fighting through
She got an arm too.
Oh yeah, she got an arm too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that her catching or
No, that was a throwing.
Yeah, she was
Yeah. But yeah, just the things that we teach in track in the summertime, and we've gotten better throughout the years because like with Coach A coming on and got some other people coming on in track, and so it's just going to get better and better, and we're looking forward to this summer. With Jaelynn being there, she actually ran for Coach Goyang and the Crusaders, and which is where GNS derived from. So, but yeah, man, out there playing with the Falconettes, throwing that pass, and playing basketball now. She's just an amazing talent. She actually got invited to the All-Star game, the Texas girls high school All-Star game.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just a tremendous talent, man, and she's going. And she's I'm gonna tell you one thing about Jay. She is so smart. Like she is, she's highly intelligent, and she loves the Lord too. I love that about her.
Right.
She's a great athlete to spotlight this week.
Beautiful. Well, let's get into some of the questions. First question we asked: looking back at your experience in the Power 5 Sports League, summer track, and your basketball career, how did it help shape you as an athlete and as a person? And the response: looking back on all 4 sports I participated in have helped me learn not to limit myself and my talents, but to push myself to be greater. Sports have always improved my leadership and communication skills. Coach A, you're always the best at analyzing these for what it is. What do you take out of this type of response from this young lady?
This her ability to understand how all sports will help each other, from track, understanding needing the speed from track and relaying that over to basketball. And you see, once she get the ball, she takes off. From football, just being able to read a defense, same, she can relate that to basketball, but understanding that there's not anything that she can't do if she put her mind to it. So that's one thing I love about Jay.
What I take from that right there is the leadership and communication skills. That's what you have to have in sports, especially being out there competing in the heat of battle, to uplift your teammates,
right?
To keep them engaged in the game, to keep them holding the rope and not letting the rope go. I mean, that's what you learn as a competitor, as a young competitor.
Yeah.
The communication skills, how you communicate. There's several different ways to do that, and then just the raw leadership part of it. That goes and translates to every walk of life that we have. You can that leadership goes into the workplace. It goes into the classroom,
family.
Absolutely. Yeah. Teachers love great leaders, and those are built through youth sports for no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I take the same thing away from that. That leadership and communication skills. I mean, we talked about it in the past where, we want these kids to be life champions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so, but learning these things through the sports. But then life champions afterwards when they're done playing, these interpersonal communication skills. You have a lot of kids, they may be shy and things of that nature, but that's okay. But through these sports, they learn to come out of their shell, open up, and so when they do get in the workplace or whatever the case may be, they're the ones that's. Hey man, that's a light out there.
Right.
People are drawn to that light.
Right.
Yeah.
Except Kawhi Leonard.
Are you crazy?
All right, moving us into our next question. How does it feel to be accepted into the Texas Girls Coaches All-Star Game? Response: I feel extremely honored, proud, and grateful for this opportunity. I'm super excited and look forward to competing. I thank God for the blessing and also my coach for nominating me. Real quick, my takeaway from this is going to link us back to the Proverbs. Thanking God for the
Right.
blessing.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, God is the victor, right? And understanding that as an athlete is your North Star in what you need to live up to. And humbled, proud, honored, grateful for the opportunity. Thanks for the coaches to nominate her. She doesn't really need to thank her skill set. Her skill set speaks for itself.
Right.
Coach Norman,
Right.
what do you take away from all this?
I mean, it's the same thing, man. That's what I was saying earlier about the verse that we had for today. You know, she was thanking God, or not the verse that we had for today, but
Right.
earlier when I was talking about how she loves the Lord.
Right.
You know, even though people do love, even though you may or may not love the Lord or love God or whatever it is that you believe in or whatnot, you know, a lot of people don't express it. In expressing it through their words or their actions or whatnot, and she's one that does, and she's expressed it through her words, but she also expresses it through her actions. And man, she's a very humble person, man. And anytime anyone talks to her, if you haven't met her before, you'll immediately know that she's that type of person that's going to be very successful as a leader, communicator,
Right.
loving the Lord, and being out there and thanking everyone for her success along her journey.
Right.
One thing that stands out to me in this is she looks forward to the smoke. That's what we talk about all the time with current athletes and this new generation of sports and competing. Do you look forward to competing? Are you a competitor? Or are you just ultra talented that don't have that competitive, that warrior spirit? She's like, hey, I'm excited and I want to go see where I measure up. You know, she doesn't defer. You know, you'll get some ultra talented kids around a whole bunch of ultra talented kids, and when they come together, you're going to see the cream rise to the top. That is the truth about the fact of the matter.
Yes.
About
Right.
Some will defer, and some will rise to the top. She's ready to compete. She says she's looking forward to competing, and you know what? That just excites me. I love a competitor. I'm competitive at everything I do. I love to compete, and I love to hear young kids wanting to compete.
Right.
And feeling so excited about it. She said, "I'm super excited and look forward to compete." What is that?
I'm almost curious if that's a GNS coaching trait that's sort of coached into these athletes, because we talked about this last week. Competition and the strive to better yourself through better competition. This is something that not every athlete has the ability to do. We make the reference here pretty often. You know, it's easy to play Madden on rookie mode and win 100-0, but what do you get out of that? Right, the opportunity to improve yourself and sharpen your skill set, that does take playing and competing against the best in order to be the best.
Right.
Coach A, what's your take on this?
Man, I kind of got an advantage over these guys when it comes to Jaelynn, aka Baby J, is what we call her.
You do.
Well, this is my niece, right? So I get a first row seat to watching how her parents interact with her, how she interacts with her parents. She has two brothers that are very athletic, and they go out and they compete. The whole house is a house of competition. If you over to the house, their mom, Jaleesa, will throw a shirt or a ball at one of them, and they're catching the ball in the house. So it is a athletic household. Just also knowing what Jaelynn has gone through this summer with how she worked out, her personal training, working hard, and then all of a sudden she has an injury to her foot that causes her not to be able to do her summer workout. She was devastated, but yet she still had this smile on her face. Hey, it's just a setback. I'll be ready. Setback for a setup. But then watching all of that hard work go into this year, and she was excited and happy, and seeing what her hard work, how it pays off, that she get rewarded for this. I mean, I'm just elated for her to be able to receive those blessings. And it's what she's done in private that calls for this public celebration.
Absolutely.
All starting at home. We touch on that
Right.
pretty frequently on this show, and the importance of just that home environment and seeding that talent, seeding that discipline, seeding that drive. In fact, that does sort of segue into our next question. All the sports take a lot of discipline. What kept you motivated through training sessions and competitions? The response: what kept me motivated through training and competitions was my future goals. We always have been very driven, so I know I won't improve if I'm not challenged. Coach Rob, this really sheds a light on everything you talked about with respect to the competition angle. You know, I'm not going to improve unless I'm challenged. What's your take on this?
Well, everybody wants dogs. All the coaches, they go and, you know, that's the first thing you'll see is a coach say they want a dog. Well, how do you develop a dog? How does that happen? Are they born? Is it a mindset that you can teach? You know, I've seen kids throughout the years that I've been coaching develop the mindset, develop the mental toughness. And I believe it can be taught. I believe you can be taught not to be broken, to push through any adversity. But that's taught, like Coach A was saying, in the household.
Right.
In the household, you know, you get your biggest draws from your family, from your parents. That's what you draw the biggest from when it comes to mental toughness and things like that. As well as good coaching, being around coaches that won't let you you know, let go of the rope when it gets tough.
Right.
So when I see that, I see, yes, she's ultra talented, but she's also been around some good grown-ups that have instilled that toughness, that mental toughness in her that drives her to competition. So, like I said, some people are ultra talented, but they don't have the mental toughness to dog it out. And I believe that can be taught. Some of it, you're born like that. There's no doubt about it. Some people are born like that, but some can be taught. There's no doubt about it. I've seen that too. So she's just a mental tough person. She wants to be challenged. And like I said, when I read that previous post by her, it got my blood boiling because young people, when they surge to the smoke, that's what kind of people you want to put yourself around. People like that want to compete, that want to go to the fight. You know, we're always coaching and we're saying, hey, get in the fight. Scoot up, guys. Get in the fight.
Right.
And you don't want those type of people on the field if you're coaching.
Right.
You don't want to have to be telling those guys. You want the guys that surge to the fight. You want those mentally tough people. So that's what it tells me, that she's mentally tough, and she's been around some people that have instilled that in her.
And it also tells me that, you know, it sort of correlates for her first response about being a leader, being that pillar that her teammates can sort of rely on, not just for the skill set, but to understand what it takes to get to where they all want to get to.
Right. Right.
Coach A, you're agreeing. What are your 2 cents on this one?
Man, just under a person who know where they're going is a smart, I wouldn't say dangerous person, but it's a smart person. So knowing what her future goals are. This young lady, if you ask her, her and her father sat down, and because she loves track, and there's certain colleges that she wants to run. So she knows in order for her to get looked at certain colleges, she has to have these times in each event. And she works at that because she has an end goal, but she also has a plan to get to that goal. And so that's just how Jay is. Like Coach Norman said, very intelligent.
Yeah.
It's difficult to go a place and you don't have a sense of direction, but she knows which direction she wants to go, and that's where she's going. And also improve. She wants to improve. I'm sorry, I want to improve. If I'm not, she knows that she has to be challenged in order to improve. Like Coach Mike Rob is saying, wanting to smoke. Like she wants to be pushed. And if she's not getting challenged, she understands that she's not getting better.
So, Coach Norman, you're the architect of an organization that builds this smoke. And when you see a response like this of an athlete that can flock to that, embrace the competition as a way to improve their own skill sets, what does that mean to somebody like you who's really dedicated yourself to putting something like this together, an environment where somebody like this can thrive?
Well, really, it just comes down to a quote that I think everybody's heard.
Tell them.
Fear makes cowards of us all. And she's unafraid. And how do you become unafraid? A lot of times becoming unafraid is your confidence in what you're doing.
Right.
Your preparation in what you're doing. If you're prepared to go into battle, you shouldn't be afraid of anything. I saw a deal the other day where, Jalen Hurts was talking to Saquon Barkley, and Saquon was like, "Man, you afraid?" Jalen was like, "Man, what we afraid of? We prepared for this."
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's no reason to be afraid.
Yeah.
So with her confidence and going into what, looking for the smoke, she's unafraid.
Uh-huh.
And she's going into battle, prepared and ready to do what she needs to do. So that all of that right there, just that quote just popped into my head. Fear makes cowards of us all. So when we're prepared and unafraid, then we don't have to be a coward. We be that dog that they be talking about, be.
Right.
There's a couple of things, when she carries a last name, Norman, and it's a little bit easier to do stuff when you have a blueprint, just like doctors usually have kids that become doctors and so on and so forth. There's a blueprint. There's a blueprint for it. With the last name Norman, us Odessa folk, we know that name real well, and it's had a lot of, it's a big time name when it comes to sports, extracurricular activities out here in Midland. We know that name. So her coming from that name, there's a clear blueprint in the family, and she's following it.
There's some Hall of Fame shoes to fill there.
It's part of it. There's no doubt about it.
Her daddy Tim was a dog.
There you go.
Talking about a dog.
We know.
All right, I'm going to move us into our next question. And this one, the response, I think, is going to be something for us to discuss because I think it just shows the maturity level that she has here. So we asked her, as a former member of the Power 5 Sports League, what's the one big thing that you learned and how has that experience changed and how do you apply those lessons to your life today? And Coach A, you actually touched on her injury, and that's really her response. So I experienced my first major injury, a broken leg, last summer. To me, that was the ultimate test of patience and trust, trusting the process. I have never been sidelined, especially for as long as I was. But what kept me going was my favorite Bible verse, Psalm 46:5, that reads, "God is within her; she will not fall." I had to pull strength from that and also trust the process. I am a better person for that lesson. We've discussed injuries on this program before. Really, the mental toughness that is required, the patience, the understanding, the discipline, just the overall mental strength that comes with overcoming an injury and then getting better to where you were previously before the injury, not having that split-second hesitation. Coach A, you look at a response like this. I mean, there's a million ways to dissect this. Where do you start?
It's hard because, this is just like a buffet. You can go anywhere. Just again, knowing Jay personally and how she is outside of sports, this is just a resume of who she is. And I would honestly say, the college that get her is going to get a complete athlete, not only on the field but off the field. And those are the best ones that you don't have to worry about. Are they going to show up for workout? She understands what it entails and what has to go on to reach her goal. So she's going to compete with herself versus anybody else. If she gets hurt, she knows what it takes to get back. She again embrace the process, or things are going to happen. Your weakness, again, the result of your strength. So what you go through is going to make it. What don't kill you is going to make you stronger. And Jay, this whole answer, this is a testament to who she is and how she carried herself.
Coach Norman, you talk about being a person of God, and you see her quote a psalm in her response here. Obviously, you know her well. What is your take on, alluding to this as it translates to the mental strength required to overcome an injury?
Man, it goes back to what I said at the beginning. She quoted the verse. This is a P5 podcast or P5 Proverbs, and we talk about our different verses and stuff within Proverbs. But right there, she just quoted. You can tell she's been in the Word. Yeah, you can tell she listens to it and she takes heed to it, because there was a verse right there. To me, man, I feel like the Bible is a perfect blueprint for anyone and anything that we're going through. It's not a religious book, but it's a book about a king who came and spread his dominion on earth. And it just shows that anything that you're going through, right there, what she's saying, God is within her. She will not fall.
Right.
And so that's my take on it, man. It's just a confirmation of what I was saying earlier, that she loves the Lord, man, and she's going to be very successful in whatever it is that she does.
Coach Rob, we spoke before the program in pretty significant detail about the ability for an athlete with an enormous amount of skills to be, I guess, a dominant force, not just at one position in a sport, but at multiple sports. You look at somebody like this, who we've seen some highlights of, we've obviously heard some answers on. What's your take on what it takes to overcome an injury? What have you seen in your coaching career that can sort of allude to some of these types of responses? And how important is it for an athlete to remain involved while injured in order to mentally prepare themselves to be stronger upon their return?
Well, she took something from the adversity coming back from it, from being injured. And this leads me to the best time of the year. We got NCAA March Madness going on. My favorite team is Kentucky. I got my Kentucky Blues on. They're one of my teams. I got Texas as my other, but anyways, this takes me back to 1996. Rick Pitino, maybe the best college basketball team ever in the history of college basketball. They were undefeated going into South Carolina. They lose a game. They end up winning the national title. I think they were 32-1 that year. But the adversity of one of the greatest assembled teams ever, having to lose a game, and everybody said, "Oh, well, this is going to be great for them because they lost a game." And me growing up, I was so young, I was, dumb about it, and I didn't understand how this could be great to lose a game when you're undefeated. Well, it did, because it showed them adversity and to fight back. They fought back. The rest of the year, they finished undefeated, win the national title, and are thought of one of the greatest collection of talents ever made. With her going through the adversity of this, when she fights back more, when she fought back through it and overcame it, that shows her. It's no difference from what Kentucky did to what she did.
Right.
It shows her that she can overcome and walking in faith. I mean,
right.
There's a faith about it in what she's talking about here. She walks in faith. She believes. She's a believer. Right. And whenever you're that, you're already a mentally tough competitor. But when you walk in faith, my goodness.
Come on, Pastor Rob.
It's even more.
Yeah.
It's even adding more to that competitive dog that you have already established in your mental.
Right.
So, that's what I get from that right there. A little Kentucky story I had to throw up in there for my cats. But she definitely overcame adversity because she had to. There's no other way around it. But she believed, because she's a believer, that nothing's going to hold her back because she's on the right side.
Well, speaking of Pitino, I had Red Storm taking it all in my brackets. I'll tell you a quick story before we go on to the final question here. I read Mike Singletary's autobiography, and in there he talks obviously about the 85 Bears and the run that they went on to win the Super Bowl. And if you look back at that year, they lost one game to the Miami Dolphins.
Absolutely.
And he explicitly said, if we did not lose that game, we were not going to win the championship, because we understood the adversity. We understood the feeling that we didn't want to have again. And from there, I mean, they steamrolled New England in the Super Bowl. They were just one of the most dominant, teams to ever hoist the trophy. A lot of people forget that, they had a good year the following year too. But the 85 team is the one that really highlights. And if you ask any Bears fan, they'll, still harp on that one. But I find that, what you just said, Coach Rob, really translates to somebody at the Hall of Fame level, at the professional level, at a champion level, and understanding what it means to fail in order to succeed. So I'm going to move on to our final question here. And Coach Rob, this really does translate to some of the conversation that we had before the show here, because it allows, this question is really tailored to, get the athlete's take, and more importantly, express what they would sort of explain to the younger generation. So for younger athletes looking up to you, what advice would you give about competing at a high level and making the most of their time in youth sports? The response: advice I would give to younger athletes would be to be coachable. Learn and take in all that is being taught. Compete and be passionate. Put all of your effort into everything you do. No shortcuts. But most importantly, have fun. Youth sports goes by fast. Every moment, learn fundamentals, be a leader, and have the best time. I mean, Coach Rob, there's nothing more to do than ask your opinion on this type of response. I know we chatted a lot about this pre-show. What do you take from something like this about everything we've learned about this young lady today?
Wow, I'd love to coach her in anything, to be honest with you. That's what I take. It's just somebody that's young and that gets it. That gets it. There's some kids that you have to, teach them, coach them all the way through, but she gets it. She understands to be successful in sports, she has to listen to people that came before her, that know the rights and the wrongs of it. So being coachable is one of the number one aspects of it. Fundamentals. The fundamentals are the foundation of what she's going to do later on to build her skill set. You have to have the proper fundamentals. And to have fun. I mean, if we're not having fun, I tell kids all the time, I tell their parents all the time, youth football, youth sports in general, it's the funnest time you'll have in your life, because when we get up to the high school level, it's like having a job. It's really like having a job for these young kids. And that's great in its own right, because they're maturing. They need to learn the responsibility like that. But these young kids at the youth level have fun, enjoy the experience. A lot of these kids that play youth sports, they might not ever play high school sports and beyond, but they will still learn all the valuable lessons that youth sports will teach you, with leadership skills, communication skills, discipline. I mean, it goes on and on what youth sports will teach you, and these kids will take from youth sports that, and that's what I mean, just a tremendous young person. And the world needs more of people like her, for sure.
We were all sort of told when we were in youth sports to enjoy the moment, because it does disappear quick and you don't realize it until it's gone, right? But to hear it from somebody that just experienced it, Coach Rob, this is sort of what we were alluding to before the show. These kids actually were there with her. Like, they understand her perspective more so than, a coach that played in the 90s and the early 2000s, right? Like, they can relate a little bit more. But Coach A, have fun. We talk about having fun and, just understanding that at the end of the day, this is a game. There's a ton of lessons and a ton of benefit from it. But if you're not enjoying what you're doing, what's the point?
Right. That fun equates to passion. Having a passion for the game. You don't want it to become a task. The task is when your parents tell you to go take the trash out and you upset about doing it. You hate doing it. But a passion will allow you to have fun. And when you're having fun, you're able to be coachable. You're able to pay attention and not make the same mistakes. And you won't take the shortcuts. And it'll continue to be fun. And you'll understand the basics of the game. And once you understand the basics of the game, you can build on top of that. And you'll go from printing to writing in cursive to going to, shorthand
Shorthand.
Shorthand. It's just different levels when you're having fun and applying yourself, and it's not a task. And that's exactly
Coach
what
Norman.
she's talking about.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna just piggyback off of what Coach A said, man. And I'm gonna be real with you.
Come on.
The having fun part is so crucial.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna tell you, when you get into the pros, or if you make it to the pros, and nowadays in college,
Yeah.
it becomes a business, and a lot of people get worn out, and it doesn't become fun anymore. You know,
They lose their passion.
they lose their passion for it, and it becomes a business, and it's about the money, and it's about this, and that's why you got people transferring all over the place and everything. And then when you get into the pros, that's at a whole nother level, because that is your job. Like you, man, I remember being in Philly, man, and I was a rookie in Philly, and we had these veterans like Jeremiah Trotter and all of those guys, and they in there like. It's really not fun anymore to a lot of people, because you're in there as a protector and provider of your family.
Right.
And so now it's go time. It's like, man, I got these young bulls coming in here, like they're not going to take my job.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so all of that, man. And I remember talking to my brother one time about it, man. And when I was out, because I didn't last long in the NFL, but when my brother was there, you know, he talked about, you know, he was there a little bit longer.
Who's your brother?
Josh. Josh. Yeah, my brother Josh. You know, he played with the Chargers and all of that, and as a tight end. And it was just like he was just tired of the business aspect.
Day-to-day.
Yeah, the day-to-day business aspect of it, man. And you know, and don't get me wrong, there's some people that still have that passion for it in the NFL, you know, and they're there and they're doing it as long as they can, you know, having that long tenure. But for the most part, like a lot of people that we talk to, man, that fun and that passion is gone, man. So I love what she said is like, try to enjoy every moment, man, every moment, because it goes by so fast.
No doubt.
It goes by so fast.
And you can't go back and redo it.
Right.
You can't go back and be 12 again. You can't go back and be 13, you know, and that's what I try to give the advice to all the parents that are thinking about letting their kid play 13 or 12U football with us. And I told them, I said, look, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. You cannot go back and be 12 years old again. Let them experience this, because it's not about anything else to me except the experience. We want to make memories for these kids that they'll last to the end of their days, and they'll be able to pass down to their grandsons and so on and so forth. So.
Yep. And lifetime connections too. I mean, you know, you're sandwiched between two guys that played sports all throughout their childhood that are literally brothers right now, right? So you know, these types of life experiences go well beyond the field, and you create these families and these friendships with your teammates, the people that you compete with, and even some of the people that you compete against. I mean, we see this all the time in professional sports, you know, guys that will compete at the professional level that played in the Little League World Series together, or played, you know, especially in Texas, you're talking about high school competition that, you know, have translated all the way up into the pros. These guys have a relationship that can only be developed and blossomed at the youth level.
Absolutely.
So, all right, well, I'm going to wrap up our athlete spotlight, another phenomenal one for the week. And I'm going to move us into our second trivia question, which, you know, is always fun. And Coach A, you're up for this one. So with the honorable Coach Rob here and, you know, his ties to Odessa, obviously we have to talk about Friday Night Lights. You know, it is really one of the premier platforms that put Odessa on the national global stage for what football means to that particular area. Now, Derek Luke, who is the actor that played the running back Boobie Miles, who was, by the way, 30 years old, playing a teenager in that movie.
Oh, wow.
Forever young.
What position did he play in real life football?
Well, running back.
Oh, no.
Boobie didn't play running back?
No, he's talking about the
Derek Luke.
actor.
He also played.
I would look at
No, my deal is Any actor that played in a football movie is trash. Have you not seen them throw and catch? You can't. I don't believe he played. If he did, he played.
He may have played in youth.
He played on the bench.
Okay, I think we're experiencing something that is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Coach A, you actually got it right. He never played organized football.
Wow.
Wow.
I think we could
I would have guessed defensive back.
Hey,
I seen this feet in the movie.
Just his body type. Yeah, he's not that big.
Yeah, he didn't even know how to put on his shoulder pads in the movie. He had
he looked like he was built like a running back to me, anyway.
Tell you where he put his butt pad.
All right.
Yeah,
So I'm going to move us into our.
you want to win? Let Booby spin.
Who should they have got for Boo?
Move us into our coach's tip of the week, and Coach Rob, we're gonna lean on you for this one. This is sort of a segment where we can, provide a little bit of advice to some of the young athletes, some of the parents that are watching, just different, little tips on how they can improve themselves on a week-to-week basis, off the field, some of their off-season, off-training workout regimens. What's your tip of the week for some of the, young athletes that are tuning into today's episode?
Repetitions. Drill it and kill it. Kill it. Repetitions. You can't go wrong with that at anything you do. The other thing is the feet. Every sport on earth, if you're good at it, it's going to start with the footwork. Every sport, boxing, tennis, baseball, basketball, or football, track. It's going to start with those 2 feet down there.
Right.
So get those good, drill it and kill it, and your athlete is going to be ready to be competitive the next year. Just do it over and over and over again until it gets monotonous, and it will. And the kid will be like, well, I'm doing the same thing. Well, you know what? There's a reason for it. There's a method to the madness. The more you do it, I saw Teddy Atlas the other day say, we basically want you to do it without even thinking.
Until it becomes second nature.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Like breathing.
And I've always believed that. I was teaching a revolutionary offense back when I started teaching it, I guess in 2011. And my whole deal was I watched Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel one time. And it was like 10 years before the Beijing Olympics had kicked off. And they were teaching 2 and 3 year old little kids how to do somersaults and stuff. And they were doing it nationwide because they wanted to win the Olympics the year that it went to Beijing. So they were teaching these little 2 and 3 year olds how to do these somersaults and triple sow cows and all that mess, right? And then it got me to thinking, they can teach these little 2 and 3 year olds how to do this, but we can't teach a little 9-year-old how to run a route and catch a ball. Whenever I saw them doing it and drilling it and killing it and repetitions, that's when I knew that's the secret sauce. So if I have a tip for all the parents, it's not camps, it's not going to these money grabs or whatever. Find you a good teacher, a good coach that'll just footwork, drill it and kill it. Get them better.
Preparedness. I know where you're going with this, Coach Norman. What is your take?
Well, I just had a question for Coach Rob. Speaking of the feet, like, so where do we, we got, train our feet and do our footwork and everything. So, what do we train for our people participating in wheelchair basketball?
Stop.
I'm just saying. That's a great Olympic sport, man. It's been coming up on the come up, man. So I was just thinking about this. So I guess
I was going to throw out ping pong, like how important is footwork in ping pong? But then I thought about it. It's like, man.
No. It's very important too, though.
You need to know what you're doing, man.
Anything, badminton. You see the greatest athletes around right now, especially in the sport of boxing. If you show me the sport of boxing, because I'm a big boxing fan, I'm a big boxing guy. if you show me that sport, you show me the boxer with the best feet, and he's going to win all the time. I'm telling you have to be in position to make it happen. And football's no different. Basketball is no different. You've seen Kobe Bryant literally steal all of Michael Jordan's moves. It's the footwork. It's the footwork.
Yep.
You know,
And it's every
Irving.
position in football too. Offensive lineman, the footwork is everything.
Absolutely.
Right? Your running back, your timing with the footwork, your receivers, the break points, the route running, all of it is footwork. It's an amazing tip of the week. Coach A, what's your take on where this leads down based around your coaching experience, and then obviously what kids can take away from this tip?
Well, I was just going to throw in there, Coach Rob was talking about footwork. And I like to just throw in there, you guys may think I'm crazy, but your kids that can dance have great footwork and they're coordinated. And you can go out, and I promise all these athletes that are great boxers or basketball players, receivers, and whatnot, linemen, if they got good footwork, that means their hand and their feet are moving in a rhythm, and they have rhythm. They're able to dance. So if your child is able to dance, there's some athletic ability in it.
You know,
That's going to be my new excuse. I'm genetically allergic to dancing, so maybe that's why.
I'm not talking about these TikTok dance.
No, really. Feeling the rhythm.
This could be a great trivia question too. But Barry Sanders, he did ballet.
Yes, he did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was in ballet.
And I've done tap dancing.
And can you name me a better running back who had better footwork?
Oh,
He was the best that I've seen. Yeah, that I've ever seen.
Boy, he hit him with that Michael Jackson spin.
Boy,
What they call that? Pirouette. Ooh, excuse me, my tongue got fat. Messed that up.
A pirouette.
That's
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to bump us into our final segment, which is more of like a recap segment. We call this the 2-minute drill. And it's just basically 2 minutes for us to recap today's episode. We covered a lot. And Coach Rob, thank you for all of your expertise and thank you for being here. It's really been one of our better episodes with you here. But the 2-minute drill is just sort of a recap, key takeaways from what we all discussed here. We do have a ticking clock on it just to keep a timestamp on it. But what do we got going on in our 2-minute drill? Coach Rob, we'll start with you.
You got coming up anything?
No, we're just going to try to pound the pavement, get more people involved in youth football locally here. There's a lot of people between Mill and Odessa, and a lot of them aren't involved yet. And we're gonna try to turn the tide on this and revolutionize the sport. That's the biggest thing that I'm in it for.
Yes, sir.
Coach A?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Coach Norman.
No, I was just gonna say to piggyback on that, man. We got to get these kids out here and get them involved, man. I want to give a shout out to Coach Ricky up in Amarillo, man. He's doing a great job developing the Route 66 conference up there in Amarillo, and we can't let them outdo us, man. So we gotta come on out and build this Tall City conference up so that we can go compete and get ready to go to the championship in Lubbock, Texas, at Texas Jones AT&T Stadium.
There you go.
Amazing.
Hey, for me, Mike, I just have to go back to Jaelynn. Being coachable, no shortcuts, fundamentals, and having fun. And just making sure that everything you do, that you're having the right fun and stay passionate about what you're doing.
And her faith. I mean, we talk a lot about, the importance of what that means in a program like this that really focuses on the proverbs of the day, and, really just, giving that victory to God at the end of the day. Right. And that's really what today's proverb was about. And she is a perfect display of it. I'm with you guys, though. I mean, again, talking to 3 coaching legends in the Permian Basin area, when you talk to an athlete and she demands to be coached and demands of herself to be coachable, Coach Rob, you said it the best, man. You want to coach somebody like that. That is the epitome of an athlete that you want under your belt.
Absolutely. I want to meet the girl. I want to meet her, because anybody that, can express it so eloquently,
Right.
Her thoughts on it. I want to meet somebody young like that for sure. Talk to them.
Definitely. So that's going to wrap up our 2-minute drill. And then we're gonna close out here. So we want to thank everybody for watching. It's always fun to be part of the Power 5 Proverbs podcast. We make sure you subscribe and like to the YouTube channel. We definitely want your take on some trivia questions. We want your take on how to stump us a little bit on some sports trivia. Obviously, if you want to be an athlete spotlight, reach out to us through the website, power5sportsleague.org. And then we'll get you set up and, just see what your take is on some of the Q&As and, have us analyze some of your highlight reels, your responses, and overall your ability as, just having fun as a youth athlete. Pre-registrations are open for fall right now. Contact your organization and your athletic director for more information on that. We're going to be opening it up to general registration in the coming weeks here. We have GNS track in the works as well. That's going to be launched over the next couple of weeks. A lot of exciting things heading into the summer and then obviously subsequently into the fall. Gentlemen, final thoughts before we part ways for today's episode?
Man, I just want to thank Coach Rob for being here, man. It's been an excellent episode, I believe. He's got a wealth of knowledge, a lot of wisdom. Man, just appreciate you being here, man. It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate y'all having me. This is I watch y'all on TikTok all the time. Try to chime in when I can on there, and hopefully this blows up. We got two great coaching legends. We got I love your voice, MC Mike. I love your voice, man. You got a great voice for this. We just got to blow it up here regionally here in West Texas, and I believe it's going to happen. A lot of knowledge comes out of the podcast because I watch y'all guys. I watch y'all on a regular now. And so if we can get people more involved in it, there's a wealth of information y'all put out every week and tips to help the parent, the paying customer of these leagues. And we want to do that. Right. This is a great thing y'all got going. Thank y'all for having me.
Love to have you back for sure. Your insight in today's episode and, in every aspect, but more importantly, just understanding what your take as a coach, listening to somebody like Jaelynn and her responses. It means the world to what we're trying to accomplish with this show. So thank you again. Thanks for everybody. Again, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll see you guys on the next episode.